The bigger insight, the talent pulse has shifted from work for us to work with us. Across all level, one theme is consistent. Candidates today expect a two-way value proposition. They no longer evaluate an employer only on compensation. They look at flexibility, culture, leadership quality, growth visibility, well-being support, and purpose alignment. This tells us that the talent pulse has become more human-centric, value-driven, and experience-oriented. Companies that adopt to this will win. Those who don't will face rising attrition, low engagement, and declining employer brand equity.
Sometimes a candidate says they are just exploring. But what they really mean could be, I feel stuck, I need to grow, I need better leadership. The space between what candidates say and actually mean is where the real hiring insight lives. And that is exactly what we are going to discuss today. Welcome to Hired by IIMJobs and All Things Talent, where hiring meets humanity and recruitment conversations go deeper than resumes. Today's topic is decoding candidate intent from talent pulse to interview insight. And to help us unpack this, we have someone who does not just hire talent, he understands the people behind the profiles. We are joined by Shafi Ahmad, Head of Recruitment India and the Head of Application Service Lane across all global delivery centers. With over 20 years of experience hiring across APAC, the UK and Europe, Shafi has seen the talent landscape shift from career ladders to career lattices, from stability-led moves to purpose-led ones. He is known for his expertise in recruitment strategy and workforce planning, but just as much for being an empathetic and transformational leader, someone who builds cultures, not just teams. Under his leadership, the organization doubled in size in just 2 years, and he has also helped build a research lab focused on AI and ML, blending talent strategy with future-ready capability. So today we are speaking with someone who reads not just resumes, but intent. Shafi, it's wonderful to have you with us today.
Thanks, Biswajit. It's my pleasure. Thank you so much.
So, Shafi, I promise that this is the only interview today where you are not the one evaluating someone. So, yeah, the things have changed. So, the baton is on my hand, but this will be an amazing conversation. So, Shafi, I'll start off with the first question and I'll start off with simply the why. Like beyond compensation or titles, what underlying shifts, emotional, cultural, or career led, are you seeing influence why candidates considered a move today?
So it's not just about salary or job titles anymore. People want flexibility that actually works, not just something written in the policy. If a company says hybrid, but they expect you to in office most of the time, that's a deal breaker.
Right.
Another big reason is the work environment. If the manager is not supportive or the team feels stressful, people start looking elsewhere. Many also feel stuck if they're not learning new skills or growing in their role. And finally, purpose matters. Candidates want to work for companies that genuinely care about culture, diversity, and well being. So I believe it's really about growth, trust, and meaningful work, and not just the next title.
That is such an important shift. Like you see, careers are becoming more personal than linear. Earlier, like these moves looked very logical, like better role, better pay, bigger brand, the usual stuff. Now it sounds like people are also asking, like, is it still working for me? Is this helping me become who I am?
Yeah.
So I think that that's why this mindset, the changing mindset and accepting this has become so important. Like to move on to my next question, which is like, how have candidates' expectation changed across early, mid, and leadership career stages, and what does it tell us about the current talent pulse?
Right. So, the early career professionals, whether fresh graduates or individual with a few years of experience, are prioritizing growth velocity over traditional stability. They expect learning pathway and upskilling opportunities right from the day one. Number two, they expect a clear career mobility within the organization. They also expect hybrid or flexible work arrangements as a standard, not as a perk. They want a workspace where people share the same values, especially career about inclusion and employee well-being. That's about the expectation change from the early career professionals. When I talk about the mid-career professionals, typically those with 8 to 15 years of experience into their journey, are shifting from building skills to building life and legacy. What they expect work life balance that allow them to manage family, financial, and their personal goals. They expect a role clarity and stability. They also expect a strong leadership and transparent communication. They expect a meaningful work, whether they can see their contribution in the business outcomes. At the same time, at the leadership level, the expectation shifts again towards impact and autonomy. Leaders today expect a strategic seat at the table, not just execution. Agile environments that allow them to innovate and make decisions without complex procedures. They also expect a purpose alignment, choosing a company whose mission matches their own leadership value. Strong branding and talent ecosystem, because leaders now understand retention is a team sport. The bigger insight, the talent pulse has shifted from work for us to work with us. Across all level, one theme is consistent. Candidate today expect a two-way value propositions. They no longer evaluate an employer only on compensation. They look at flexibility, culture, leadership quality, growth visibility, well-being support, and purpose alignment. This tells us that the talent pulse has become more human centric, value driven, and experience oriented. Companies that adopt to this will win. Those who don't will face rising attrition, low engagement, and declining employer brand equity.
I think that is so aptly put. Like, what standouts in all of this is that the intent is not as hidden as it used to be earlier. Now things are becoming more transparent. Like as you say, it has become a two-way street. So it also reflects how both the organization as well as the job seekers, the employees as well, like shows up how people talk about their work, the kind of questions they ask, like even the trade-offs that they are not willing to, these are not the like those traditional trade-offs they are not willing to make anymore. They are trying to adapt, to learn more, and a lot of this has been observed very much on the current Gen Zs who are like taking over everything by storm. Like they
Correct.
are the ones who are questioning a lot. They are not the one conforming to what has been existing by their seniors, the millennials, the Gen X, and all those. And it's also quite a sight to see as well. And also, like we learn from every generation, so it's also important for us to adapt those things as well when we also look out for opportunities. So, with that, I would come to the next question, which is like, from your experience, what early cues through, say, conversations, questions, or behavior help you distinguish genuine intent from passive curiosity?
So I typically look for three earlier cues that separate genuine intent from passive curiosity. Number one, depth of questions. People with real intent, they ask specific forward-moving questions about expectations, growth path, career development, challenges, etc. Not generic you know, tell me more, or tell me more something about the projects and all. So then they wanted to know more about the culture, growth plan, and challenges. Number two, consistency in follow through. Like a genuine candidates, they come prepared, right? They respond promptly, and they build on previous conversation. Many of the times when you see the recruiters, they're calling up the candidate, but they're not, responding. They're not responding on time. That's show us a little, intent about their passive curiosity. Okay, and the number third is very important. That is behavioral signals. When someone is serious, their body language, their tone, clarity improves. They articulate their why, not just their interest. So there are a lot of behavioral signals, from the recruitment point of view as well, right? The candidates, they will not pick up the calls. They are trying to just see their value in the market, and they're applying for the job. So these all are the behavioral signals which recruiter need to arrest. They need to check the candidate pulse, their body languages, their promptness to respond, their willing to attend the interviews, and so on. So I think these are the three clues. What I can say, that that separate genuine intent from the passive curiosity candidate.
Yeah, this is such an interesting insight, because what you said also suggests that interviews should feel less like assessments and examinations and more like real conversations
Correct.
between people. So, like, if we want people to open up about what they really are looking for, the space has to feel safe, thoughtful, and not rushed and transactional. At the same time, it's also expected from candidates as well to present a very normal self, not a make believe, not a robotic self trained version of themselves, but bring out, speak from experience, speak from be attentive, pick up the calls, answer, have ask questions. So I think the door should be completely open. Like, in fact, there should be no door, no walls, or anything. It should be a free flow of exchange of information or communication, and that is how you also decide, like, from the body language of the employee, like, will they be a good fit for the company, but like, will they also help our business to grow as well? So that is also, I think, very
A-
important,
Absolutely, yes,
right?
true.
So I would also like to ask you, like, how can interviewers design conversations that move beyond validation of experience to uncover a candidate's readiness for change, learning agility, and long-term alignment?
Right. So, interviewers can uncover a candidate readiness for a change and long-term alignment by shifting from transitional questions to a scenario-based question, reflective
Okay,
conversations,
interesting.
asking about how they have adapted to ambiguity, learned something new under pressure, or influenced change reveals learning agility. Exploring their motivations, value, and helps gauge alignment. The goal is to create a dialogue that tests how they think, not just what they have done. Maybe interviewers can also ask open real life questions about how candidates learn, adopt, and handle change by listening to stories instead of just checking skills. They can understand how someone thinks, grow, and whether their goals truly match the role and the company. So, and very important thing, interviewers can also uncover a candidate readiness for a change by asking a lot of other questions also, like what values they have brought into the table from their previous experience and all. So these things, I believe, interviewers can ask open real life questions about how candidate learn, adopt, and handle change by listening to the stories, not just asking the job description based questions.
Yeah, that opens the picture up very clearly. Like, and when, like, interviews are well designed, they are at the end of the day human interactions, and which means, we, like, as you said, that this is a very pattern based thing, and we all carry some sort of patterns. What we are used to seeing, what we think, a good career looks like, what feels familiar. Like, if we still cater to the existing or traditional means, it becomes, I think, for the recruiter to makes it harder to fairly assess people who's
Yeah,
like.
yeah.
So I think, if, like they say, Bear Grylls says, improvise, adapt, overcome. So I think that applies very much here. And moving on to the next question, like, what are the most common blind spots interviewers face when, say, addressing motivation and potential, especially for candidates who from non-linear or diverse backgrounds, let's say.
Hmm. So, what I believe the biggest blind spot is judging a candidate by the shape of their journey instead of the strength of their capability. Non-linear candidates often hide the qualities when we says we are looking for resilience, adaptability, and real potentials.
Right.
The most common blind spot is relying too much on the traditional career patterns. Interviewers often overlook the resilience, adaptability, and learning agility that comes from the non-linear path. Another, and I would say another blind spot is judging communication style over capability, which can unintentionally disadvantage diverse talent. In short, we sometimes miss true potential candidate because we ask, as I said, we ask the JD based questions instead of evidence of their growth. They've also grown in their career. So why we are not asking that? Why we are asking only skill based question and judging based on that? So that's one of the another blind spot I could say, by interviewing and asking about only the skill based question and not looking into their career growth. Look into the evidence of their growth. They've also grown from one level to the another level.
Right, right. So, and this also like really opens things up, because now interviews are not just about improving questions, but about shifting mindsets. Like,
Correct.
JD based questions, why they don't, like, they do not work, because they, like, somehow it restricts into sort of coming to an understanding the person in front of me, like from filtering people out to genuinely trying to understand who they are, what they
Correct.
are ready for, and what they are headed towards. I think this brings up the actual picture, rather than the other way or any other forms of communication, I feel.
Yeah.
So, with that, I would move on to the last question. Like, if interviews had to evolve into deeper, let's say, more humane conversations that truly connect organizational needs with candidate intent, what should we be doing differently starting today?
Right. Right. The interviewers, I believe, need to shift from the scripted question and answer to a real dialogue. That means we creating space for storytelling, curiosity, and manual honesty, mutual honesty. Sorry, where candidates explore why the work matters to them, and organizations clearly share their value, challenges, and expectations. When both sides show up as human, not roles, alignment becomes clear and decision can better for everyone. Also, what I believe is interviewers need to move from checklist conversation to human conversation.
Right,
When we focus less on validating past experience and more on understanding intent, value, and adaptability, we create a space for honesty. Asking effective scenario based questions and sharing real challenges from the role allows both sides to access alignment. It becomes less evaluation and more about meaningful partnership connecting to it. It is what organization truly need with what the candidate genuinely want.
right. Right. I really like how you put that, because it changes the whole energy around interviews. Like, in your
Correct.
previous answer, you had also said that it stops being just a step in the hiring process and starts feeling like a real conversation about direction, say,
Correct.
like where the organization is going, where the person wants to go, and whether those paths genuinely make sense together. And maybe that I feel is the big takeaway here. Like, candidate intent is not something you extract with just one clever question or one or two clever
Correct.
questions. It shows up when people feel heard, when the conversation is open, when
Right.
both sides are actually trying to understand one another and not just evaluate. Uh,
Absolutely.
and this
Ab-
is such a powerful reminder for anyone involved in hiring today, or will be big, or will become a recruiter in the coming years.
Biswajit, I also wanted to highlight some of the aspects in the normal industry standard. What in terms of the interviewers taking interviews of a candidate at our earlier stage, we used to go for the interview. We see how technical panels and interviewers they're conducting the interview. So what I have observed that not most of the time, but many of the times when interviewers start the interview now in virtual world, when most of the companies they're conducting video interviews, so it is very important for interviewers also to switch on their video, come into the good attire, right? Give a smile to candidate, not just immediately start asking question without briefing themselves. They should, I believe they should introduce themselves first, their name, their role, since how long they are in this company, they are in which city, and then start asking some, generic question with the candidates. How's your day today? How you've been doing? Are you okay for the interview? Are you nervous? Something like that, especially for the, junior candidates. So this thing, what I believe is missing, wherein interviewers they are not making the candidate comfortable. When you are not comfortable, you will not give your 100%. The moment you switch on your video, keep put a smile, give a smile to the candidate, say good morning, asking little questions, make them comfortable, and then starting with their consent, shall we start on the question and answer, and then things will definitely change. Because when candidate feel comfortable, they are giving 100%. When they are uncomfortable, they are in a fear of giving interviews, even at any level, at a higher level also. The When candidate gives interview, they have little fear in their mind, right? Don't know what interview will ask, and also it's very important for interviewers to make the candidate comfortable first. So this is what I believe, and I have tried to implement this in my organization, and things are working very fine.
Absolutely. Like, I feel that interview, like any sort of interview, like we have addressed in the previous questions as interactions as well, that interview should be like as real as it can be. Like, say a person, if like let's say if you are having a video interaction, there could be an air of nervousness, there
Yeah,
could be anxiety, there could be a lot of emotions the person could be going through, especially when they are, let's say, very young in the field and like have very little experience in hand. So I think the point is to create a safe space. Like, you
exactly.
want good people in your team, so also you need to create that atmosphere for them, na? Like, unless and until they will give their best only when they feel that they are part of a
They're part
safe
of.
space.
Yeah.
And I think that is very crucial. And you have rightly said that why these primer questions, the sort of ice breaking, is important
Correct.
with people.
Correct.
It actually helps you to get them. Let's say if you and the other person, you could be from the same hometown, and that could
Right.
be also sort of form of a connection, and
Right.
for a
Exactly.
minute you can discuss about that. So I think
Exactly.
that's a brilliant way to connect and then move on to the job at the task at hand. So
Absolutely. So interviewers
thank you.
definitely need to, assume that, they are trying to welcome one family member, right? In that context, they need to think, start the interview, start the conversation, and give the complete picture about their house, their family, their project, their company, their culture, right? So that's make them comfortable.
Right, right, totally. Thank you again, Shafi, for this brilliant addition towards the end. And I hope like your words come out as an example for the recruiters who are watching this conversation
Yes.
and get inspired to adopt to more genuine and honest recruitment processes, and also for job seekers as well, because every conversation gives a takeaway for everyone who is watching.
Correct.
Whether
Job-
you are
Job seekers could be the interviewers also.
absolutely. Everyone,
So they should also learn.
Yes, that's absolutely 100% take.
Yeah.
So thank you, Shafi.
Thank you so much, Biswajit. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
And that's a wrap. If this conversation resonated with you, do share this video and subscribe to H.I.R.E.D by IIMJobs and All Things Talent. See you on the next one.